Welcome, trainers, to our second season playing through each Pokemon generation. We have already conquered the Kanto region, and are now making our way through the Johto region. My name is Chris, I'm the last trainer, and I'm playing Pokemon Crystal. I'm also joined by my two fellow co-hosts.
My name is Sean, I am the Fire Breather trainer, and I'm playing Pokemon Gold.
And my name is Dustin, I'm the Gentleman trainer, and I'm playing Pokemon Silver.
And we are known as the Trainer Trio.
Quick overview of everything that we're going to talk about in this episode. We're going to leave Azalea Town and go west into the Ilex Forest, make our way through the forest, and come out onto Route 34, which has a couple of fun things, such as the daycare center. And then directly north of that will be Goldenrod City, where we'll see the radio tower, our big shopping mall, and then the third gym leader, Whitney. You boys ready to jump into it?
All right, let's start getting to hopping, Chris.
Get hopping, as they say. Yeah, this was the shorter leg of our journey. I feel like that first journey that we had when we first started was so long, and then it is interesting just to see. Obviously, these games weren't made for a podcast format where each gym would be proper number amount of hours, but I guess we'll see at the end of this episode how long it took us to beat it.
Very true.
I know. How rude of them not to think about podcasting when they were making this game.
I know, it's 1999, when podcasting was in its prime. Or was it 2001 when this came out?
99 was when Gold and Silver came out in Japan, and I know Crystal came out in 2001 in America at least.
See, and that's what I meant, because, I had a really big brain, so I knew all of that, so that's why I threw out both those dates.
Real quickly, before we get into most of what we're going to cover, I had a realization going through a lot of the cities, because I think in one of the episodes I mentioned that I couldn't find a naming convention for the towns, like how Gen 1 was colors, and Gen 2, I was thinking, oh, there's Newbark Town, there's Cyanwood, but then there's colors, there's Violet, there's Goldenrod. Shout out to my sister-in-law's boyfriend, Robert, who was like, aren't those all just plants of some sort? And I was like, oh, you're right. A violet's a flower. Goldenrod is a type of flower. The others are trees. I'm like, oh yeah, that's all just plant related. I feel really dumb.
Wow. See, Chris, you just don't have a brain as big as mine, so that's why you're getting caught up in these small mistakes.
Well, I do hope Robert is listening to this podcast so he can hear that one shout out.
Shout out Robert. That's my boy. We've never met.
Yeah, thank you for that, because otherwise I would have gone through every city and said, oh wow, I have no idea what they're doing here. This is just all over the place. All right, so our first thing to do was to go west into the Ilex Forest. And
before we go into the Ilex Forest, we do have to talk about our rival battle, which I believe we skipped over that last time.
I forgot about that.
That's the one part that I have the most detailed notes on.
I mean, I have notes on that, but Dustin, it sounds like you're very excited to talk about this battle.
Yeah, so, you just come out from being the bug guy, Bugsy, right?
Yep.
Yes.
You come out and my rival, Sir Vincent Vermilion, appears, and the first thing he asks you is if Team Rocket returns. And I was just thinking that, he thinks that we're lying about being them down in the Slowpoke Tunnel, and it seems they just kind of scrammed fast and no one really believes that Team Rocket's coming back. So that's a scary notion. Otherwise, finally getting into the battle with him, he had a Ghastly level 12, which I took out pretty easily. But then his starter Pokemon, which is now Bayleaf level 16. And for me, my Totodile was still a Totodile, and obviously don't want to take him out into Bayleaf, so I used 3 Pokemon that it just wiped all out. My Sentret, I had a Mareep at the time, and a Geodude. So at this point in time, I'm down to just 2 Pokemon. I sent out a Hoppip, and my Hoppip doesn't really deal damage. So I ended up using Tail Whip 13 times in this battle, and Bayleaf kept using Reflect to gain defense while Tail Whip lowers defense, right? Yeah, so it's literally just a battle between who can lower or raise the defense. And then finally, when I get low enough, the Bayleaf would then use Synthesis to heal up. So it was one of my slowest battles ever. to date. But I did take it out, and then finally, his final Pokemon for me was a Zubat level 14, which immediately took out my Hoppip, so I was down to just Totodile. And it kept using Bite, which made my Totodile flinch a lot. So I actually had to use potions to, not die out. And Totodile ended up becoming confused and paralyzed at the same time, which I didn't think was possible, but I guess that might have been an update from the last gen. I was down to my final potion, used it, and Totodile got down to 2 HP. I ended up being the Zubat with 2 HP left, so that was very intense.
Wow, that's probably much more eventful than my rival fight. But I wanted to say, so just to explain to you, Dustin, and maybe even the audience a little bit about stat drops I think they're still implemented in this generation, but the way how I'm about to explain it. So basically, when you do Tail Whip, that drops the defense down by 1 stage. You could drop it or increase any stat up to 6 times. And so there's a bunch of different attacks that sometimes it ups it or downs it 2 stages instead of just 1 stage. And then Reflect and Light Screen are very unique in that they provide the benefit of a special defense or a defense boost, but it's not necessarily a stat drop or increase, if that makes sense. So what makes them even really strong supporting moves is you could set it up with the Bayleaf as your rival was doing, and then if he had switched out to another Pokemon, the Reflect would still be up, and so that Pokemon would still get a defense boost. Yeah, so you're just talking about using Reflect versus your Tail Whips, and so I just thought to explain that, 'cause it's a little different. So I don't know, basically that's all me saying, because you use Tail Whip a lot, so I don't know if its defense was already at the lowest it could have possibly been at by the time you're doing that.
So the Reflect does not count as a proper, gain in defense?
No, it does not.
Interesting. So I probably just wasted my time there.
Yes, maybe. But I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe it's different in this generation, but that's just how it now currently operates.
Sounds like you struggled a little more than you should have, Dustin.
It's a lot of talk for losing to him last season, Chris.
How did you fare, Sean?
I mean, my rival fight definitely was not as, let's just say, drawn out as Dustin's. When he brought out his Ghastly, I had my Onyx. And so I just, because there's no abilities in this generation, I knew that Mud Slap would keep on hitting the Ghastly. But then he hit a Hypnosis with his accuracy drop. So I thought that was pretty impressive. But I mean, it wasn't enough. And once an Onyx woke up, I just did another, 2 more Mud Slaps and then it fainted. And then when he sent out his Croconaw at this point, I just switched to Flaffy and kind of defeated Croconaw pretty easily, and the Zubat as well.
Did you notice something strange about the Croconaw?
Was I supposed to?
Croconaw's not supposed to evolve until level 18, and he has a level 16 Croconaw.
Oh, I forgot about that.
He's cheating. So I don't know why, but I mean, they put all of the starters at level 16, which normally would be fine, except they forgot that one of them doesn't evolve until 18. So I believe in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, they remedied that by putting all the starters at level 18 for this battle instead.
I mean, he's cheating. It still wasn't enough to beat me.
No, of course not.
Well, how about your battle, Chris? How was that?
I totally forgot to write notes, but what I do remember is that he has a Ghastly, so Ghastly's only offensive move is Lick. And I have 2 normal types at this point on my team. I have Hootie, the Hoot, and I have Teddy, the Teddy Ursa. So Ghastly couldn't affect me. And then Zubat is Zubat, so I took it down. And then at that point, all that was left was his Quilava. And I have a water type on my team. I have Wagyu, the Poliwag. So I was able to take it down with a water gun pretty easily. So this wasn't too difficult for me.
I'm not feeling good about my odds by the end of this episode.
I did know that how he calls us a weakling after we beat him. What? You just lost. You have no right calling me a weakling.
I don't know how much I like this rival right now. He's kind of just rude and obnoxious and not that strong.
And a thief.
And a thief.
Stole a Pokemon. It's pretty messed up. Well, yeah, so I guess we could start talking about actually going to Ilex Forest. I'll just mention at this time, I decided to add, I mentioned I caught a Slowpoke in the last episode, I named him Tail. I decided to add him to my team. Eventually, I know we're going to be using 4 Pokemon in our gym battles. So I might have him definitely just for Surf because there's another water type I really want to add to my team, and we'll see if that happens. But yeah, added him as we go to Ilex.
Fun. Welcome to the team. So I have two types of things to talk about with the Ilex Forest. I have lore, and then I have my actual experience. What do you guys think we should start with?
Lore.
Lore. That's going to be the long one where I talk for about like 5 minutes. You ready?
The stage is yours.
Okay. So, remember last season when we got to the, I think it was the Pokemon Lab on Cinnabar Island, and I was kind of geeking out because it was my favorite part and it had all of the journal entries? Well, this, I think, is my favorite location in Gen 2, and I will explain why. So, there's a couple cool things with the Ilex Forest that they've done over the years. And most of them go down to just random events that they've had both in Gen 2 and Gen 4. And so the Gen 2 event that you could have gotten in the Ilex Forest is a Celebi event. When you're going through the forest, you're going to find a shrine. I think it's just called the Ilex Shrine. And funny enough, I was doing research on this. And from what it turns out, in Gold and Silver, they put this shrine in and no one knows what developer or what person put this shrine into the game because it does nothing. I mean, if you're playing Gold or Silver, like there was no post event, there was no nothing. Like there's a shrine here and it's not referenced and it doesn't do anything. They interviewed people like years later and they were like, yeah, we don't know what that was. But then people were playing the game and they made their own rumors. They thought, oh my gosh, this shrine, it has to do something with the mythical Pokemon Celebi. Like, it totally has to. And according to the developers, they heard all these rumors and they were like, oh, that's a great idea. We should do that for Crystal. I don't believe that at all. I'm like, no way that you guys just like put that shrine in there that's very Celebi-esque and then just later added it in after fan theories came up. Like, I don't believe that. I think they had a plan, but that'd be pretty funny if that was true. Speaking of the event, so in the Japanese version of Pokemon Crystal, people could connect something called the Mobile System GB to their Game Boy, which was like an online paid service. And there was an adapter that would connect the Game Boy to a cell phone. And then, yeah, you had the subscription. And then you could initiate getting the GS ball, which I'll explain what that is in a second. But from there, someone would give you the GS ball, I believe, at the Goldenrod Communication Center. Then you would take it to Kurt in Azalea Town to inspect it. After a day or so, you could take it to the shrine where you would find a Fateful Encounter Celebi. And so this event was only Japanese exclusive for the longest time. It was not in the international releases because they only decided to put it in the game using that mobile phone connector, and they didn't release that in the United States. Possibly because of kids didn't have cell phones as much back then. Not exactly sure exactly why they did that, but there was no way to legally get Celebi in international releases of Pokemon Gold, Silver, or Crystal. Only in Japanese Crystal. Okay, so next on that, you actually could have gotten it if you would have downloaded Pokemon Crystal from the 3DS eShop prior to the eShop closing in March of 2023. They added it back into the game where all you had to do was beat the Elite Four and then go to the Goldenrod Pokemon Center and someone hands you the GS ball and then you can go ahead and do everything as normal. So for once, Pokemon actually did a fun thing and they let you do this event long after it ever came out and the first time that you could ever do it in English. However, Nintendo is awful and you cannot get this anymore.
So then this was the first event ever, right? The first event Pokemon?
Was there not a Mew event?
No.
There wasn't. They definitely distributed Mew at some point, like in New York or something. However, there was never anything tied into it or any legit event where something actually happened. Because I think that Mew was just plug in your Game Boy, we'll transfer a Mew to you. Whereas this was actually something cool that was built into the game. Next, we're going to talk about that GS ball. What is the GS ball, you ask? The GS ball is a gold and silver Pokeball with the letters GS inscribed on it.
Woo!
Just kidding. So just a quick backstory on this too. I'm going to talk a small amount about the anime. So this was mentioned, I believe, in the anime first. Ash goes on his little Orange Islands quest, and he gets the GS ball in the Orange Islands and is told to bring it to Kurt. So he does it, brings it to Kurt, and he says, okay, I'm going to inspect this. And then nothing ever happens with it. So basically, like 8 years later, someone does an interview and says, hey, remember that whole thing you did in the anime where he goes on this huge fetch quest to go get the GS ball? What was that? And they were like, oh, yeah, we were supposed to put Celebi into the anime, but we decided to make Celebi the main character of the Pokemon movie. So we dropped that whole thing, and we just hope that everyone would forget that we ever did that.
Oh my god.
So yeah, the GS ball, it's in the video game, obviously. I believe it was first in the anime, so I would like to believe that maybe that it does add up, that they have this shrine, and they have this anime exclusive Pokeball called the GS ball, and then they put everything together and create this event, which is pretty cool. The only thing that's not cool is I read that in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, there's an NPC that says that it stands for Great Smith's Ball or Gold Silver Ball. And that made me really upset because I'm like, why would you ruin the lore behind this? Why would you go ahead and explain this? This didn't need explaining. We didn't need to go back to this. So that's the lore behind the GS ball. That's the one event that you could have done in the Japanese version of Pokemon Crystal or the 3DS eShop version of Pokemon Crystal. And then also I love this area because there are even more events that you can do in Generation 4 and Heart Gold and Soul Silver. I'm not going to get into those now because you can't do any of that in this generation, but definitely if we revisit these games, this is something I'm going to talk more about. I think this is a really cool area.
What a cool story, Chris.
I'm glad you had so much fun here, Chris. I only have one note of the Ilex Forest, and it's that you had to cut a tree to get inside.
Chris goes on a 10-minute rant. Dustin, you had to cut a tree.
Well, to gain cut, you do have to chase a Farfetch that got free from its trainer, and then while doing so, at least while you're playing silver or gold, you do come across the shrine, and it does nothing. And as a normal player like me, I would never see the full end of the GS ball and Celebi, so that does just kind of make me a little depressed, but I'm glad to hear what actually happens with all of that.
Too bad we'll never be able to experience it.
I spent an embarrassingly long amount of time trying to catch that Farfetch because I thought we had to like trap him in a corner, and then I realized we had to kind of push him back to the charcoal maker's son. It took me way longer than it should have.
It finally connected with me why they sell charcoal here. Because there's a charcoal maker with the Farfetch cutting the trees. So I'm like, oh, that's why they sell it here. But it's still way too expensive, so that's stupid.
I guess before we move on, what does charcoal do? Have you bought charcoal? Or?
Oh, so it's important to me because it's just charcoal is a held item for Pokemon that it ups fire type moves. So obviously for my Quilava, it would be a very useful item. I mean, I guess I'll just spoil it. Throughout this, I never am able to afford it since I've been playing. I went back one time in the future to try and buy it to realize it's $9,800, which is a lot of cash, especially in Gen 2. Cash is so hard to come by because there's not many avenues other than trainer fights, and the trainer fights are just, there's not many of them. And so money, I mean, you guys will experience it as we go through this run. It's very important to manage money in this game, I feel. And so that's why they have the extra option of your mom managing some money for you.
Oh yeah, which one of you guys did that? Or did both of you guys do it?
I did it.
I'm not giving my mom money, so I do have a lot more gold.
Well, I was doing it because I thought she would buy you stuff in this game like she does in the Gen 4 remakes, but I don't think she does because, I mean, she hasn't bought me anything yet.
That's so rude, Mom.
I know. Buy stuff for me with my own money. Come on, Mom. When you guys finally caught the Farfetch and you guys got cut, which Pokemon did you give it to?
Oh, I gave it to Teddy Ursa because it's a high attack Pokemon and it gets same type attack bonus. So that 70 power move is actually 105 for me.
I gave it to Sentret.
That's also smart.
I decided to catch a Paris and I named it Shrooms and I gave it Cut.
Oh, oops, Sean, I made a mistake. I was talking about a different move that I get. really soon after that. No, I did the exact same thing as you, and I caught a Paris and taught it cut as well, because I am not going to teach any of my good Pokemon cut.
Wow, Chris, you're having a lot of small brain moments.
I was too excited talking about the lore. I don't know what's actually happening.
I'm joking. What Chris was referring to is when we continue in Ilex Forest, you meet another individual who gives you another TM, this one being the TM for Headbutt. Dustin, did you get this TM?
I did, and I also gave this TM to Centric.
That makes sense. Chris, who did you give this TM to?
I gave it to Teddy Ursa because it gets same type attack bonus, and that means that 70 power is actually 105 power.
Oh, that makes sense, because you're talking about Headbutt, not Cut. I ended up giving it to my Onyx just because Onyx really does not have many good moves at this point in time, so anything that deals power is just useful for him. I don't really have much more notes in LX because it's really straightforward.
Did any of you guys headbutt any trees? Because that's a new mechanic you can do in Gen 2.
I remember trying a little bit because I know to catch a Heracross in this game, you need to headbutt a tree and get that. And so I was trying to do that for a little bit, but I'm going to be honest, I just kind of gave up because I never encountered any Heracross. And so I didn't really care about any other encounters I was getting when I was doing that.
I did not use it either. I think I did not capture a new Pokemon this leg, I believe, but we'll find out.
Yeah, you can't capture Heracross yet with these trees. You can capture in gold, you can capture the Caterpie line in silver, the Weedle line, and then execute in both gold and silver. Crystal will give you the third form evolutions, Butterfree and Beedrill, and then Hoot Hoot Noctowl. And then one other Pokemon, which I caught and added to my team, and that is Pineco.
Oh, that's exciting.
And we'll see how long I keep it on my team. But I caught Pineco. I named her Pinolo, which stands for pine nut in Italian, for all of you that are listening. She is a very difficult Pokemon to use because she knows Tackle, Protect, and Self-Destruct.
Sounds pretty OP.
I definitely caught it with kind of a strategy for the next gym for sure. So I can't wait to tell you guys how that goes.
I'm excited to hear.
Yeah, I didn't, like I said, when I was headbutting, I didn't like any of the encounters, so I didn't catch anything.
Well, moving on to right after the Ilex Forest, I just made a note that there's one Pokemon trainer called the Pokefan, Brandon, and I really like the sprite because it's basically a dad wearing a Pikachu shirt, and the kid is also in the Pikachu costume, so very cute matching outfit.
That's so funny that you know that, because I noted that too, that I like this sprite also. Look at that. In Gen 2, I was saying how much I like sprites. In Gen 1, I was saying how much I dislike them, and now me and Dustin both liking the same sprite. Or a trainer. Who would have thought?
Who would have thunk?
Chris, just stop.
It looks like Route 34 has a couple new Pokemon that you can get here. In Pokemon Crystal, I believe this was my first time I could catch a Jigglypuff, which I did. You can catch an Abra. I cannot remember if we've seen that or not, but that's at level 10 at a 10% counter rate. And then you can also catch at 5% a Ditto, which I thought was very clever because you can also find the daycare in this route. And we can talk about why that's clever in a second.
Chris, why is it clever?
I'm just curious. Did any of you guys catch any Pokemon at all on this route or no?
Nope.
No.
So it is quite clever because we get into another new mechanic that is actually brand new to the Pokemon series right now. It is breeding. So breeding was not in Generation 1, and it is in Gen 2 and every generation after because you can leave 2 Pokemon at the daycare, and if they are correct, they are able to breed and give you a Pokemon egg. And Ditto, in this case, is like a wildcard Pokemon where you can pretty much give any Pokemon to the daycare lady and then give a Ditto, and it will always produce an egg, as long as the Pokemon's good to produce eggs. I actually thought that was really smart of them to have a Ditto introduced into that route, but only at a 5% encounter rate.
I think it's very cool how it takes the Ditto gimmick and just adds upon it by adding this extra feature of like, oh yeah, Ditto could transform to any Pokemon, but now it can transform to any Pokemon when it's in the daycare, when you need it to. So, because you're not going to use it to battle.
Did you guys put any Pokemon in the daycare?
No.
I did. I put my Baron Hoppip to hopefully it'll train and get strong enough because it's quite weak in my company.
Did you see how when you put a Pokemon in there that you can see it from the outside in the fenced area, or no?
I did notice that, and I did make a note, and it is pretty cool to actually see Pokemon in the world. Like, it's so sad that in some of the newer generations, like right after this, like when you put Pokemon in the daycare, you don't really see them out in the world.
Yeah, I don't think that's in any other Pokemon generation. And I thought that was really cool. You can always see how many Pokemon you have in there. And we know that those little menu sprites are not the best, but it kind of gives you a hint of what Pokemon it is. I thought it was cool.
And who did you put in the daycare?
I put Ditto after a little bit. And then I also put a Machop in there. Wait, have we talked about how to get Machop yet?
No, we have not, but we will soon. You got a mysterious Machop, and we'll talk about how that you got that.
And you caught the Ditto too. That's crazy.
Yes, I've been trying to catch all the Pokemon, and real quick rant, I'm not a big fan of this whole time thing in this game because I like to go to bed at like 9 p.m. So I only have between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. to play this game at nighttime and catch that Pokemon. And that's really hard to do. I'm not a fan.
That is, yeah, difficult. I am not trying to live up to the Pokemon Hunter title in this generation, so I'm quite happy for that.
That's me this generation. I do have one more thing to note. I'm sorry, guys. You're going to hear a lot of me this episode. In Pokemon Crystal exclusively, the daycare couple will give you an odd egg, which can hatch into one of 8 different Pokemon, either Pichu, Cleffa, Igglybuff, Tyrogue, Smoochum, Elekid, or Magby, which are all the baby Pokemon that were introduced in this generation. So I got the odd egg, and we'll have to see what it hatched into and if I add it to my team.
And how do you get this odd egg?
In Pokemon Crystal only, you just talk to the daycare couple. I apologize.
No, it's so sad that they waited till Crystal to add that because you don't really see any of those like babies much in this generation, but they've been introduced. And so, you know, if you're not actually seeing them, you don't know that they're there. And so it would have been nice other than, I mean, obviously we get the Togepi that everyone gets, but, you know, just what they're doing in Crystal, giving you more access to some more baby Pokemon would have been cool.
I'll ask you guys at the end of the episode which Pokemon you think my egg hatched into, and if either of you get it right, then I will Venmo you guys $1.
Let's fight for that $1 then. Any other Route 34 notes?
I have one more note that there is a policeman that's standing out there inspecting for suspicious individuals. So maybe they heard word of some shady business down at the Slowpoke well, but I don't know if they're ever actually going to find those suspicious individuals.
So, fun fact, this might not be true in Gen 2, but I know it's true in Gen 4, and so I'm assuming we're not going to know this because we all just play at night because it's the only time we can. But the officer trainer in Heart Gold and Soul Silver will only initiate a battle at night. And so if you talk to him during the day, which then again, I think we do have an opportunity to encounter one more officer in this game. So it'd be pretty cool if we, one of us could at least try to walk past him during the day. I know exactly where he is, so I'm going to try this to see if this holds up. But yeah, so in Gen 4, he has initiate battles in the day. And so that's why he says the thing about suspicious characters. He says the same thing during the day, but then at night he's like, oh, you're suspicious, and he attacks you.
I'll wait for you to report back on that one. I know you're right on Gen 4, because I remember as a kid being like, whoa, these guys can battle you?
I'll confirm that when we get to that point. But now it sounds like we're all in Goldenrod City.
The city known as your playground.
Wait, what? Is that what it's called?
I saw a sign, and that's called your playground, and I think it kind of makes sense just because there's so many different places all combined in this one city, which I will let Chris walk through.
So we got a couple places of interest in Goldenrod. I think this is actually the largest city that we have encountered just in terms of map size, like just individual tiles and buildings that we can go into. They really kind of wanted to make a large city here in Gold and Silver. So we have obviously a Pokemon Center, we have the bike shop, we have the Goldenrod department store, we have the Goldenrod game corner, we have the Johto name raider, we have the radio tower, We have the train station, which is not operational yet. We have Goldenrod Tunnel. We have the flower shop. There is a friendship checker. And there is Bill's house. I think that is everything in this city. It's actually quite large.
I can get started with the department store, which I wanted to see if they had any cool TMs, which I believe when I went, they only had the punching TMs, like Fire Punch, Thunder Punch, and nothing else really useful. But in here, one of the NPCs did mention that your Pokegear can only store 10 phone numbers, which I'm kind of thankful for because I've just been accepting everyone's phone number, so could not imagine like if you had just every single trainer in the game on your phone, how much that'd just be getting blasted by alerts.
It's gotta be popular.
Do you want to know a fun fact about TMs and the Goldenrod department store, Dustin?
Yeah.
On Sundays, a woman will appear who will give the player either TM27 Return or TM21 Frustration if the Pokemon has high or low friendship, respectively.
I don't know if that's worth it, though.
Return is definitely worth it. If you have a maxed friendship, like your Sentret maxed out friendship, Return deals the most amount of like damage as a normal move without any like major downside. Because is it 100 base attack maxed out friendship, Chris?
I think so. I think it's about 100. And then especially if you have your Sentret, which is a normal type Pokemon, then it gets that same type attack bonus, and you just have a 150 power move with no downside.
I guess I'll have to take a look.
Yeah, take a look on Sundays.
I remember I encountered her on a Sunday. That's when I was playing, and I went through all my Pokemon, but none of them had a high enough friendship. So it was very sad.
Other than that, I mean, I felt like the items were slightly underwhelming here. They have the normal stuff like potions, Pokeballs. They have X items. They have those pharmacy medicine items like proteins and irons, but like the charcoal, it is quite expensive. And then it kind of copies the first generation game where you can get a vending machine with those soda pops, fresh waters, and lemonades. I don't know. Did you guys have anything else to note with the department store?
Not really, but I do know that all of the elemental punches are pretty strong in this generation. And so the fact that you could buy them repeatedly in the department store is really useful. But, I mean, I don't have any Pokemon that can use it right yet, so I didn't have any point in buying them.
Oh, wait a second. I do have one thing to mention.
Yeah, mention it, Chris.
Now we have the in-game trade.
Yes.
So for you guys, it looks like it was a little easier. Am I correct that you guys had only to trade a Drowsy to get a Machop?
Yes.
I had to trade an Abra, and I was like, are you kidding me? I hate catching Abras. They just teleport away.
But you caught one.
Yeah, that's true.
I did. Caught one, traded it for Machop, which is named Muscle. It was holding a gold berry, which I believe heals 30 HP, which is amazing for a held item. And yeah, and then that is the Pokemon that I put in the daycare, just seeing if I could get it up to Machoke level.
Did you do the trade, Dustin?
No, I have not seen a Drowsy yet, I believe.
That was in the route right before Goldenrod, the Route 34. You can find a Drowsy.
Oh, one more thing about the department store. I thought this was funny. Because if you use the elevator, you could go to the bottom floor and you see a bunch of people working and like moving stuff. And if you talk to one of them, he's like, oh, you have to get out of here. Our policy is to only work when no one's watching. I'm just like, what? Wouldn't that be nice? I want to tell my boss that. Please leave. I can only work alone.
I could see Sean in a courtroom. He's like, everybody leave. I cannot work right now.
I went to the game corner first before going to the underground. And at this point, like, you can't really do anything because you don't have a coin case, what you need. But I was still trying to see if you could, like, talk to anyone or do anything. And I found someone says that he loves the slot machines here more than in Celadon City because they're more of a challenge. And that really threw me in for a loop because if you're gambling, why would you want to play something that's more challenging, which is more likely to make you lose money?
That's when you know you have a problem.
So that was my main note of the game corner. I know this must be Chris's favorite place. He was gambling a lot last time.
Yeah, you gamble much this time, Chris?
I did. So, Dustin, were you able to get your hands on the coin case or no?
Yes, so then once you go to the underground, that's where you find the coin case.
Yeah, I was also disappointed when you go in there and you couldn't gamble initially, but I got that coin case as well. And I went in and played a couple of the games. And then I think kind of like Gen 1, I realized how hard it is to actually get coins on this, even though I thought it was kind of fun. The second game that you have there, playing the card flip mini game, it was kind of fun. It was like roulette, but it was so slow and the odds of winning were so slim that I got pretty bored. So I don't think I'll be gambling much.
Yeah, and then the rewards that aren't really worth it. I don't know, because I went to look at the Pokemon rewards, and I don't remember all of them off the top of my head, but I think one of them is a Dratini, which I already have gotten last gen. I think Abra as well. There's one more I just can't remember, but nothing impressed me.
Yeah, Gold and Silver, you're right, it has Dratini and Ekans, and then it has Abra.
Ekans, yeah, I don't care about Ekans.
And then, in Silver, instead of Ekans, it has Sandshrew. In Crystal, I had access to a Cubone and a Wobbuffet. I have no desire to use a Wobbuffet.
It's so funny because there's so many of these Gen 2 Pokemon that I just assume were Gen 3 because they're not very accessible in this game. And Wobbuffet was one of them that I just now realize is a Gen 2 Pokemon.
The TMs you can get in the Game Corner are pretty good. They're Thunder, Blizzard, and Fire Blast, but they are very expensive, and you'll probably just have to go ahead and buy those coins later on.
You already know how I feel about those high power, low accuracy moves. I don't like them.
Yeah, in this generation, they did lower the accuracy of Blizzard. So I believe before it used to be 90, now it's 70?
75.
Yeah.
Thank you, 75.
I was abusing Blizzard last generation. It was awesome.
I do have one more note before we probably go into the gym leader, which is in the underground, there's a super nerd, Eric, who apparently got booted from the game corner for trying to cheat with Pokemon. What kind of Pokemon do you think you would be able to use at this point that could help you cheat at the slot machines? Asking for a friend.
My guess, completely random guess, would be an Abra to teleport stuff. I don't know how. Don't ask me how it works, but that's my guess.
I was going to say the exact same thing, either Abra or evolve it into Kadabra, and maybe you can use its little spoon to move those slot machines so that it's the way you want it.
I guess I'd probably take like an electric Pokemon, try and overload the slot machine.
That's pretty noticeable, though.
Well, he got kicked out, so he wasn't being super discreet, it turns out.
True. And then a couple more notes before we start talking about the gym. In Goldenrod City, there is a bike shop. Did you guys all go into the bike shop?
Yes, I did.
I did not know.
Oh, well, Dustin, go explore a little bit. You'll find a bike shop. You'll talk to the owner and you'll be like, oh, no one's buying my bike, so maybe I should give you a bike to advertise. And then, what do you know? You get a bike. So, it changes a lot having that. I would recommend you go find it.
It speeds up the game so much.
Yeah, there's that. And then there's also the radio tower. Did you guys go into the radio tower at all?
No.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
Dustin, what exploring did you do?
Yeah.
I went underground.
Come on, Dustin. You didn't go to any of these houses. What the heck? So in the radio tower, as you will find out, Dustin, you can talk to someone and you get a quiz. And if you get all the answers correctly, you get this radio app on your Pokegear. And I mean, I haven't used it, but you could listen to like talk shows. I know Professor Oak is on one of the talk shows. And I think it has some added effects for the Pokemon you encounter, but I don't know if that's in this game. Again, I might be getting this one in Gen 4 confused.
Yeah, I know one of them was the Lucky Channel, which I think you can kind of do that lottery where it checks a lotto ticket with your Pokemon ID. However, I don't know how that works over the radio. I wasn't really using it much. And then you're right, there was Oak's Talk. I'm trying to see if there was anything else interesting.
Yeah, because I'm going to be honest, I got it and I never used it.
I think there's this cool feature. I know on the second floor, you get this blue card where you can listen to a specific radio. Oh, it's only on Crystal. I have a really cool game where you can listen to this one radio show, and then you can recite passwords and get points, and then you can use those points to get actually really good items. Like you can get Ultra Balls, nuggets, rare candies, and the protein and calcium and all that. I just haven't done that yet.
It's pretty cool. So yeah, there's not really much else you could do at the radio tower other than get the radio app. Is this even an app at this day and age? I don't even know what it is. Whatever, get the radio installed into your phone at this point in time. I know there's you could go into a house where you find out it's Bill's house, where I think his mother's there, and I think daughter or sister, don't know. Sister, okay. And you do get his phone number if you talk to one of them, which when I got the phone number, I gave him a call because I was just like, well, I mean, how's he going to react? Does he even know me? I'm just going to give him a call. He basically just tells you how many spots in your Pokemon box you have left before you have to switch to a new one.
Yeah, they use that mechanic. Every time you fill up your box, you get a call from Bill that says, by the way, your box is full. And I'm sure you guys haven't encountered that yet, but it is quite frustrating.
Because in this one, too, do you have to switch boxes before you can catch any more?
You do. I thought that was only Gen 1, but no, it's the same, where you have 20 Pokemon in a box, and then you switch it. It has to save before you switch it, and it's horrible.
And then I guess the last area that, so there's the name Raider, but I'm assuming none of us use that at this point?
Nope.
No.
Okay, so the last, if I could think of, the last real interesting point here is there is a flower shop, where if you talk to one of the ladies in there, she will say how if you spray water on this tree, it dances. But she doesn't trust us to do this without the badge yet. So for us to return when we get the badge so that we could watch a tree dance. Sounds pretty fun.
Why doesn't a tree like water?
I don't know, Chris. Sounds something sketchy going on.
We'll have to find out next episode.
The only other things I have of note, talking about the department store one more time, there's a lady you can talk to that mentions the mystery gift. And then after that, you have an option on your menu that says mystery gift when you boot up, when it says continue or new game. That probably was how you got that Celebi back in the day, but today that is useless. So just thought I'd mention that because mystery gift will be a recurring thing going forward in every generation.
And just to clarify, I'm pretty sure that's only a feature in Crystal, Chris, because I did not get that.
This is the first time in this podcast where we keep finding differences between the different games
that we didn't know of.
I'm going to look that up now. And then the other thing, hopefully this is not a Crystal exclusive. You can register key items to the select button.
Yes, you can do this.
Okay, I did that with my bike. At first, I was trying to figure out how to do it. I was being a little dumb, but now that I've registered that bike, life is so nice.
It is.
Yep, I'll have to get that after this.
And now it sounds like everyone is ready to go into the gym. So, which 3 Pokemon did everyone take into the gym?
I've already mentioned mine before, but Geodude, Furret, and I now have Croconaw.
I wanted a little bit of a challenge, so I decided to only bring 2 Pokemon in. And at first, I brought in the Pineco, and I brought in now my Noctowl, my Hootie, which is now level 20, which evolved. And it didn't go so well. So my second time, I brought in a different team of Teddiursa and Pineco.
I just used my Onix, my Flaffy, and my Colovasil. So I did, throughout most of this time I was playing, I was using my Slowbro to fight, my Slowpoke, to fight through most of the trainers and stuff to get him levels. But then at this time, he had just learned Water Gun, and I was like, Water Gun, this isn't enough. Like, if he'd learned something to a status move to try and affect Whitney, I would have thought about bringing him in, but I just decided to go with my 3 OG again. All right, well, Whitney, the crusher of dreams. So, how did everyone fare against Whitney? Who would like to share their experience first?
I think Chris should go since we already heard he went back again.
Yeah.
Okay, I can start. And before I even get into my experience, who thought this was a good idea to put a Miltank on Whitney's team? It is so OP. Like,
It is.
every other trainer that we've been fighting, I feel like has been under-leveled or not that good. And then they throw a Miltank in there that knows Stab, Stomp. It knows Attract, so it can get you to only attack 50% of the time. It knows Milk Drink to recover its HP. And then it knows Rollout, which doubles its power every successive turn, which it is only 90% accurate, so it has a chance to miss, but 90% is still pretty good. And Miltank has a base stat total of 490, which is like pretty good, even for like fully evolved Pokemon standards. So this is like, the developers were trolling us with this decision, and that's why it stomps all dreams. So I went in first with my Noctowl. This was really stupid. If you would have just listened to the moves that I listed, Rollout is a rock type move, and it is super effective against flying types, and I didn't think about that. So I took down the Clefairy level 18. Poor Clefairy. It gets no mention in these battles at all with Whitney because Miltank just steals the show. But I took down Clefairy pretty easily. I get to Miltank, and I'm like, oh, I totally got this. Like, I have my Noctowl out, and it rollouts me in like one turn to death. And I say, oh, okay, I got this. So I bring out Pineco, and I use one tackle to try and lower it down. No. It's stomping me. After 2 turns, I'm dead. And I'm like, this is not good. I need to switch up my strategy. So I bring in, this time, Teddy Ursa. I bring in Pineco. And so I start with Pineco first and get rid of Clefairy pretty easily. I'm using Takedown and Tackle. It's really frustrating because I have to use Takedown to get rid of anything, but it gets rid of your HP. Luckily, I'm able to get Miltank out. It goes first. It's faster than me. It does not kill my Pineco, and I'm able to use Self-Destruct, and I'm able to get it almost all the way down to fainting. And then I'm able to bring out Teddy Ursa, and I'm able to use Headbutt and get rid of it. So I actually had to use a self-destruct strategy just to get Miltank down. But that is how I did it with 2 Pokemon.
Yeah, that's a really good job.
And don't let anyone tell you that I would do it any other way in any other order.
All I want to know is that so far, Chris, we've had 3 gym battles, and you haven't been able to take any of them down on the first try.
That would be correct.
All right. Just wanted to make sure that the record was straight for everyone to, who's keeping tabs of that, like I am.
Whitney's really hard, and I definitely misjudged Faulkner. And yeah, Bugsy had that really tough Scyther as well. So, okay, maybe I got to give Gen 2 a bit more credit with its gym leaders. It's a little better than I thought.
It's a good thing we aren't doing a Nuzlocke, or you'd be doomed.
Anyways, that's my depressing story. I'd love to hear you guys.
I also had quite a difficult roundup this time around. I started with Geodude and took out her first Pokemon, the Clefairy, and then once I got to Miltank, Geodude just couldn't do that much damage. And at that point, Miltank got a bunch of rollouts, and afterwards killed the Geodude. So I sent out the Commodore S and just hit one hit for it, and then one hit my Croconaw. So I did have to go back, and my next strategy now was to just start off with my Croconaw and just try and deal as much damage there and end with the Geodude. So I did end with the Geodude, and he was the one that helped me win.
Wow. Everyone's struggling against Whitney. She's kind of to be expected, honestly. So, for me, I went in. I remember I just cleared the gym. And so I decided I was lazy and didn't want to go all the way back to the Pokemon Center. So I used a potion on my Clova, and I got him up to a little bit, still in the green, but not fully healed. But I didn't want to waste another potion because it was less than 20 HP for him to get fully healed. I'm just you know what? Whatever. I'm just going to leave with Clova because he's a little bit damaged and just see what I can do. And so it's very funny, Chris, how you mentioned that no one really talks about Clefairy. But for me, when I was going up against Clefairy, it used Metronome and got a Surf on my Clova. I was just what the heck? This was probably it used one more Metronome before this earlier. It didn't do anything important, but then the second one hit Surf. It was okay, what the heck? Well, there goes my Clova, basically. And Clova barely survives, 5 to 6 HP. And then I was still able to get enough embers off to take down Clefairy. But then she brings in, who everyone's scared of, the Miltank. And so I decided that I didn't know Clava could attack off, but just sacrifice Clava and then send in my Onyx and see what I could do. But anyways, the Miltank was faster than Clava, takes it down. So then I sent in Onyx. And as everyone knows, Onyx has really high defense, really low attack. At this point in time, my Onyx knows the move Screech. And Screech is, I want to say 70 accuracy. I might be wrong there. It's a 70 accuracy move that drops a Pokemon's defense by 2 stages. So my big brain idea was once when I send out Onyx, she started off with a rollout. And that's a rock move. And then since Onyx is a ground type, it resists that. And so I'm like, all right, it has super high defense. I think I could take a couple of these rollouts. So I'm going to Screech for, if I get 3 Screeches off, I'll get its defense down all the way to the lowest I could get. And then if I just spam Mud Slaps, eventually it's going to miss one of these rollouts. And then it's going to have low accuracy. So basically, I go through the plan, but instead I do 3 Screeches. The last one misses, but the first 2 hit. So I already know I have a nice defense. And then it's starting, the rolls are starting to do damage at this point. So I'm getting scared. So then I start Mud Slapping. And what ends up happening is it went through an entire round of rollouts, and my Onyx was still alive, which I am just so impressed because it must have been like 5 rollouts. And like Chris says, it doubles every time. So I don't know what that last base power attack was rollout was, but it did a lot of damage. And I should also note that both my Clava and my Onyx had berries that I still had from the beginning. And so they both used their berries to help throughout this first battle. And basically what ends up happening is that I do so many Mud Slaps that now Miltank can't land most of her attacks. And so finally, she does get off one last stomp on me, brings my Onyx down to 1 HP, but then it doesn't hit another attack for the next 3 times because of all those Mud Slaps. And then I win with only 2 Pokemon with my Onyx at 1 HP on my first try.
Wow.
Going into that battle, I totally did not expect to win. Like I said, I didn't even fully heal my Clava. And on my notes, I said, Whitney, first try. Totally expecting there to be more than just 1 try. But I got very lucky with those missed hits at the end with my Onyx's Mud Slaps.
No, that's a really smart strategy, though. Going up a Miltank, which is a physical attacker, getting in a high defense Pokemon, lowering its accuracy, lowering Miltank's defense as well. I mean, that's the way you got to do it. That was good.
So, for all those Onyx deniers out there, he is here, and he is the truth. He was the MVP, honestly, of last gym, too. He's been putting in work for me. And you know, a lot of people like to talk a little smack about Onyx. Put some respect on my boy's name.
Just wait until you get to a water gym.
All right, now we're going to be moving into our next segment of the show. My favorite, the Pokestats. So we'll start off with mine. Let me pull that up. So we'll start with the playtime and the Pokédex. So I had a playtime of 11 hours and 11 minutes, and I caught 30 Pokemon.
Wow. I guess I will go next. I have a game time of 8 hours and 3 minutes, and I have caught 16 Pokemon.
And then my total time was 13 hours and 1 minute, and my total Pokedex is 45.
13 hours and 1 minute, huh? That's a pretty crazy time you got there.
Hey, I'm catching more Pokemon than all you guys, so naturally I'm going to be a little above you, right?
Very true.
Yeah, so it looks like you definitely played the most, Chris, since our last time with 5 hours and almost 30 minutes. And then both Sean and I played around 2 hours and like 40-ish minutes. And then Pokemon, Chris also caught the most at 45. Sean had 16 and I had 30. So we got some good diversity there. Moving into Pokemon levels, so we only took 3 Pokemon, which, just to recap, I had Croconaw, my Admiral Tot, at level 18. Furret, Commodore S, at also level 18. And then Geodude, Stalwart, was my highest level at 20. We can go to Sean next.
I had my Cinder, my Kalava at level 19, Rocky the Onyx at level 20, and Pika Fluff the Flaffy at also level 20.
Pika Fluff, I love that name.
I know, I'm creative.
And then my 3 Pokemon, we got Wagyu the Poliwag at level 20. We have Teddy the Teddy Ursa at level 20. And we have newcomer Pinolo the Pineco at level 20. I got them all to level 20.
It's pretty good. So Chris at the highest average level 20. Sean has almost at 20, 19.7 average party level. And I had the lowest at 18.7. So Chris leveled up his Pokemon 4 total levels, and then me and Sean around 3-ish total levels. So it looks like Chris has been doing some heavy lifting this leg of the race.
Well, let's see if it's going to help him in these battles.
Alright, so we'll head into our Johto Battles, our round robin format of battles against everyone. And we'll start off with basically kind of like our weakest matchup, which last time I went 0-2, and I'll be playing against Sean, who went 2-0.
Let's see. Crocodile, Apple Talk.
Do you think that Croconaut has a shell that he's coming out of, or he's just wearing a wife beater?
Egg.
A white beater. It makes more sense than a shell. What crocodile, comes out of a shell, Chris?
I meant like an eggshell, like half of an egg.
Oh, no. I'm screwed. This Onyx sucks.
Come on. Take him down. Stalwart.
Magnitude 10? I just lost. I can't take down your Geodude. There's nothing. Alright. This is all I can do.
What? I missed. No! No!
This is all I can do. Oh no.
Magnitude has 50% accuracy. Rock throw has 45% accuracy. Oh, that's after you did all the things. I was like, what is going on? Yeah, I was like, is that their normal?
Oh, it says what they are. It didn't even help.
Oh, geez, you have a horrible setup for ground types.
You just noticed that?
Oops.
Quite literally. I mean, well, it'll change with my new team. But until then, no, I can't do anything. This is literally all I can do.
No, I know what you mean. Like, my team that I'm about to face you guys with is like, because it's just not ready yet.
Oh, man. All of these will hit.
You have a 43% chance of hitting, right? Like, about half.
Let's see, it's 42%. And I'm just not hitting any of these.
You can do it, Pika Fluff!
Oh.
There we go, let's do it. Okay, finally, I'm on the scoreboard again.
So, if you guys just remember hearing my team, you might notice I have a very bad team against ground types. And Dustin has a Geodude named Stalwart. And so in our battle together, all he had to do is use Magnitude and basically swept me with his Geodude. There's not much else to say.
It took me 9 turns, though, to hit that final Magnitude on Sean's Flaffy, just because you brought his accuracy all the way down to 42%.
Yeah, I realized there's no way I could beat you unless I just smoke screened you to death and just prayed that you couldn't hit all your hits. Which worked for a pretty decent amount of time, but yeah, unfortunately, I can't do anything against you, dude.
I forgot. Does Onyx have any good like attacking moves at all, or did none of them work against his team?
Its best ground move is Mud Slap.
Ah, yeah.
So Mud Slap does nothing compared to Magnitude.
Just wait till we find Earthquake.
Okay, next battle will be me against Chris.
See, I have a thought of what to do. Sometimes Dustin doesn't do what's predictable.
It doesn't, but you never know.
Oh, come on. There we go.
Trying your cheap sleep strats. Revenge Gen 1.
Alright, I don't really know type advantages, so we'll see what happens.
Oh,
Oh, this is feeling good. You know, I really didn't want to have Geodude in my team, but like, if I didn't have him in my team, I wouldn't have been able to beat Whitney.
He's strong. Stronger than Onyx.
I'm trying my best, like, for the next gym leader, Morty, I guess. Trying to, like, trade him out. Oh, self-destruct. Why?
Dang, it still did hella damage.
Boom!
Boom, indeed.
Wow, with the headbutt.
Damn, this asleep is like 4 turns so far.
Well, I think because you swapped him out, it kept starting over.
Oh, really? It's over for me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, you woke up.
Ugh, it's up to you, Commodore S.
Dude, Teddy Ursa is a beast. Just wait. It's Teddy Ursa for one more battle, but I'm getting it to Ursa Ring after Morty. Oh, you have headbutt too. Ah!
Oh, that's nice. Please help me.
Oh!
Please. Oh.
Oh!
Does this do enough damage?
Do it?
It does.
Oh.
Oh, intense battle now. Down to our final ones, but you have 2 levels on me.
No, I think you're gonna... No way.
That's a Poliwhirl. It sucks.
Come on.
Yay!
No! Come on, can I get lucky? Reverse the luck. Reverse the luck.
All right, this is it.
Wake up.
If you wake up this turn, you win. If you
Wake
don't, I
up.
win.
Oh, no!
That's crazy. You deserve that, Chris.
Oh, yeah, I'm using the sleep stat.
That was actually crazy. Or the odds. Dude, the other sleep lasted so long. But how many turns after I traded him out last? I have to check.
He was asleep. Well, he was only asleep 2 turns. He woke up on the 3rd. So that was the second fastest it could wake up. Or actually, no, in this generation, I think you can wake up immediately. You got lucky. He was only asleep 1 turn.
That was extremely lucky.
Now we will go into the second battle of the night, and it was between Chris and Dustin. And this was a pretty close match all throughout. All right, so basically it was really neck and neck all throughout. Chris had his Pinecone and you self-destruct on Dustin's Geodude, and it actually did a lot of damage. And then Chris looked like he was going to just dominate all the way through with his Teddy Ursa. But then Dustin sent out his Commodore S, or Furret. Furret really put in the work. It got Teddy Ursa down, and then it was just between Dustin's Furret against Chris's Poliwag. And Chris put down Dustin's Furret to sleep. And so it got to the point where as long as Dustin woke up, he would win the battle. But if Dustin stayed asleep one more turn, then Chris would have won the battle. And so on that 50-50 flip, Dustin woke up, hit the quick attack, and won the battle.
I felt good. It was definitely just me hoping for the best and came out good. Except my Crocna did not do anything this battle. He was just asleep the entire game.
Yeah, that was pretty lucky on my part that I got Crocona asleep so that I was able to take out some other Pokemon. It was also kind of a triangle strategy here that every time I had my water type out, or you would take out your Geodude and bring in my normal type and you'd bring in Geodude. So that's why this time I thought about it. I'm like, okay, I need to get this Pinecone to blow itself up. So worked out perfectly and I got to chip into that Geodude just a bit. That was fun.
That was pretty fun. All right, moving into our final battle of the night, Chris vs Sean. I went from winless last time to 2-0 this time.
Who will be winless this time? I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, Poliwag is, but luckily it's already a Poliwhirl for the next one. Just curious what it does.
Yeah, the protection looks weird in this Pokemon Showdown. It's all purplish.
No! Okay, well, I guess you don't kind of have to. No!
Oof, that is annoying. But this is the only Pokemon Sean can use against Poliwag.
And then I lose.
Oh,
The berry. You know, I don't have items.
That's the last berry. I don't have any more berries now. God, you got so long.
Wow, you actually timed that. Oh,
whoa!
Does he have sturdy in this?
No,
or-
there's no abilities.
Oh wow, it's at 1 HP.
You're also not set up well against water types.
That Onyx is really holding you back.
That's why I need a Steelix ASAP.
Oh, what? That did more than last time. Last time it only did 32.1. This time it did 33.9.
It's a range, my guy.
Ugh.
Range. You have ranged attacks in this game?
Each time you get attacked, there's a different range. There's either the low roll or the high roll. Oh, I might lose here.
I'm not a gambler.
That paralyze needs to come into effect.
I can't even. Yeah, darn.
That was another good one.
All right. Now the final match of the night was me and Chris, and sadly, Chris was able to win this game.
Sadly.
Yeah, it's very sad. Everyone is disappointed. Basically, Chris was able to predict one of my switch shouts.
So we were going back and forth a little bit because I have a water type and Poliwag, and Sean is weak to water types for 2 of his Pokemon. However, he has his Pikafluff, the Flaffy, that is strong against Poliwag. So we kept trying to switch out and trying to predict each other. And so at one point, it was Pineco against Flaffy. So I predicted that Sean was going to switch into his Onix. So immediately I switched into Poliwag.
Yeah, and then that messed me up, and I couldn't take down Poliwag. And he also got my Flaffy sleep for 5 turns, so that was not fun. Yeah, and then I couldn't come back. So unfortunately, I did not win a single game this round.
I got to chalk it up to normal types here. Dustin has the Furret. I have the Teddy Ursa. Normal types with Headbutt right now. They're leading the charge.
And they're pretty strong this generation, I have to say.
As the formal normal trainer, I endorse this.
I do have to say, I think Sean's Onix is holding him back because that really hinders his type advantage against our Pokemon.
It does, because both people have water types, and then Dustin has a ground type as well, so I'm just getting the short end of the stick on these type advantages. But we'll see if it'll be worth it when I get a Steelix, if that ever happens.
This is the fun part, though. Like, you know, in the early game, it's kind of like it's anyone's game because we're all building up teams. So we all get strong and weak at different points. And then it all accumulates at the end. And we get to see who's really the best.
Chris, it's the real strategic game right now because you've taken like your star Pokemon out multiple times.
Oh, yeah. Bayleaf is awful. I'm not using that in my battles.
All right. So we should go over the record now. The record stands at Sean is at 2-4. Chris is at 3-3. And I'm on top with 4-2.
Boo.
Right now, both me and Sean have been either winless or lossless compared to Chris, 1-1 each round.
Guess we'll just have to see where we go from here.
Was it last season where I called myself the mediocre trainer? I think that's coming into play again.
No, I mean, that's pretty good, Chris.
1-1.
Because last season you came in 3rd. If you keep your current record up, you have a chance to come in 2nd.
Wow, that's a bold statement right there.
I have a chance to be the 2nd best. Thanks.
All right, so that brings us to a close to this episode and this leg at the 3rd gym. So going forward, you can contact us at Twitter at The Trainer Trio, or you can even email us using the email thetrainertriopodcast@gmail.com. In our next episode, we will talk about our experiences leading up to the next gym leader, the mystic seer of the future, Morty. Until next time, we are the Trainer Trio, signing off. Catch you in Ep.3 City, trainers.